All right, welcome back to What She Said Sports. This Shanola girl checking in, everybody. Okay, so we got a good show planned for you. Um, the Falcons have already they starting to find out, right? And y'all know it started with announcing that Kevin Stefanski was the head coach, and then Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield. When I tell you that people spent their time after Baker put out that post, and I think last we checked, it was at 14 million views. So immediately afterwards, remember the guy that put out the post, the Ledbetter guy? So guess who he went and who came to his defense, or he tried to use as some type of evidence? He reposted the cabinet lady. I said, oh, okay. See, the media is being exposed now. Kevin Stefanski was already exposed with Shedeur. And actually, Baker Mayfield's revelation just really vindicated Shedeur Sanders. It proved that what Shedeur Sanders was saying was correct. It also proved what? We know the sabotage was real, and they kept trying not to talk about it. And then here come Baker Mayfield basically telling us that they sabotaged him, pushed him out like garbage. And what did we see? The media put that story out. And what happened before that? I reviewed 4 analysts or people or whatever they want to call themselves that's on somebody's payroll trashing the quarterbacks. So the Ledbetter guy trashed Baker and then went running to repost Mary Cabot, who had something to say about Baker. And then today, Tony Grossi tried to trash Baker unsuccessfully. Mary Cabot unsuccessfully. People pulling up old tweets, right? And people going at her. And it's not just the Baker Bros. Now you got the Browns fans coming out. And I went back and read it and looked. I wanted to see what the sentiment was about that pass that Schwartz dropped. Now, here's the thing about the pass that you have to understand. See, time has moved forward. And unbeknownst to us, what we saw Jerry Jeudy doing, stopping on his routes, skipping to Malou, dropping passes, is exactly what Schwartz did when it was Baker. So it proves that the Browns use this technique to sabotage their quarterbacks. And the fact that it's happening against Jameis Winston and the more wide receiver that's still missing in Chicago, it happened to Caleb Williams. It tells you the NFL, the Browns in particular, who we focused on, use this against their quarterbacks. I wonder if anybody in the Falcons organization used it against Michael Penix Jr., because there was a game with a guy named Mooney. And I was like, why is he playing? He's playing like trash. And what happened? They fired the black wide receiver coach in Atlanta. See, Atlanta was already on the Cleveland time. We just didn't know it. When I shared that they were talking about their locker room issues and how the one black player got retaliated against because he stood up for the black wide receiver coach, that wasn't the problem, but he got fired. Now it's Raheem Morris. Now it's the GM, enters Kevin Stefanski. Stefanski hires Tommy Reese. Has to keep Ulbrich. I feel sorry. I feel sorry for the black players, staff, and coaches. Somebody posted a gentrification of the NFL is happening. I'm like, well, they already think it's a whites only space. So I don't know if gentrification is the right word, but I understand what they're saying. What was black, they trying to push out and turn white. Understand this. The Browns, the Texans, the Titans, all 32 teams. What you see happening, what you saw happening with Shedeur, what you now know what happened with Baker. And Baker's white, but there's a difference. We're going to talk about that. Because understand, people are going to try to use this to say it's not racism, but I'm ready for them. Baker wasn't publicly humiliated and dehumanized. They set him up to be injured so they can push him out to get Deshaun. I even saw a comment on Reddit that said when Baker left, well, thank God we got a mature quarterback in Deshaun Watson. I'm like, so y'all don't know what the hell y'all want. And now they're like, Baker asked for a trade. When you look at the dates, they got Deshaun while Baker was on the ground to try to demote Baker Mayfield, who took them to the playoffs. thought they were going to sabotage his career and bury him on the depth chart behind Deshaun. That's why he put that tweet out. When is Deshaun going to start talking? When is Deshaun going to start talking about how the hell he got $230 million and why they keeping him buried on the depth chart or the injury reserve and the insurance company paying his salary? I saw Robert Griffith Jr. III today posting, right? And I said, when you going to tell your story? Because you played for the Cleveland Browns in 2016. Hugh Jackson was your coach, and he alleged he was bribed to lose. The nice word that they like to use in the public is incentivize. Incentivize is bribery. Bribery is illegal. So black coaches are on the record. Hugh Jackson in Cleveland, Brian Flores in Miami, saying that they were bribed to lose. Incentivize makes it sound less of a crime. It either is a crime or it's not. Bribery is a crime. They were bribed to lose. Why do you want to bribe coaches to lose? Was Stefanski bribed to lose? Because he sure was adamant about losing. So Baker Mayfield telling his truth, showing that Stefanski knew about Deshaun, but Stefanski used Deshaun as a scapegoat. I didn't want him here, but you helped Baker to get hurt to get Baker out of the way. So why was it so important to push Baker Mayfield, who took y'all to the playoffs the first time that y'all won since the 60s? Why was it so important to move Baker Mayfield out the way to get Deshaun, and you never let Deshaun play more than 8 games? Deshaun has never played 10 games for the Browns in one season. Why was it so important to move Baker Mayfield, who was a winning quarterback, out the way? I think I know the answer. There's an interview. We're going to take a look at it. There's an interview with Tony Grossi. Tony Grossi actually got fired from wherever he worked at with this interview. See, Baker Mayfield was being questioned like they questioned the quarterbacks, but, just a little different. About a play or something that happened or a loss or something. And Baker Mayfield knows the game. Baker Mayfield is not a Dylan. Tony Grossi got fired for calling Baker Mayfield a effing midget. Did you ever hear him call Dylan a midget? How tall is Baker? How tall is Dylan Gabriel? So Baker Mayfield knows the game, like Shedeur knows the game. And the way Stefanski was able to get Schwartz to stop running on his route is the same way he got Jerry Jeudy to do it. Right? How you do that? Remember the skit? You don't have to go out here and be Superman. Are you asking me to not catch the ball or finish running my route? He said, So, see, he know he can get in trouble for that. See, he know he can get in trouble for asking a player to set up the quarterback. So that's something that they say. But how do they get rewarded? Is it through their agency, their next contract? Is it straight up cash? Like Bountygate. They were paying cash to hurt the targets of Bountygate. Cam Ward was one. Frank Gore Jr. was another. And they wanted to hurt them so they couldn't play the game no more. So what we're hearing is corruption. Secondly, it's not new. It's not new. And it seems a lot of it seems to be targeted to people they want to move out, in particular, Black people because of race, and Baker Mayfield because he knows the game and is not willing to be a Dylan. This is why they want check down kings like Mendoza, because he already a check down king. Baker Mayfield was not going to be a check down king. But what happened? Just like Shedeur, they got their wide receiver to stop running their routes or to make sure they don't catch the ball. This is corruption at the highest levels. Because I think people on the inside have known what really happened to Baker and they get silenced or they're afraid to speak up. I talked about the Browns locker room. I said, how the hell is it they get all of these people to be corrupt like this? to sell out the quarterback, the wide receiver, and the O-lineman. Something you need. Something you need. Nick Chubb gets pushed out. He's sad. I was like, and why are you sad? You ought to be tired of being in such a toxic environment. It's not just a toxic environment. It's a corrupt environment. And the environment that we're witnessing play out, exposed before our eyes, is a microcosm of the current climate in the United States, anti-Blackness. And anybody white that supports Black people or that refuses to play the game. Even during the Civil Rights era, there were white people that supported it because they didn't believe in it, abolitionists and slavery. And they were hated. They were N-word lovers. There's always been Uncle Toms. There's always been N-word lovers. And we're seeing that in the current time with the Browns. Wyatt Teller, when Stefanski got fired, Wyatt Teller's wife posted, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I wonder what she thought. Maybe I should ask her. What do you think now that Stefanski fell all the way up, pushed some Black men out their jobs, and got paid $15 million a year to disrupt the Falcons and to whiten up the place? Who remembers the movie Barbershop, a beauty shop, with Queen Latifah? They were starting a new salon and there were already people working there. And Queen Latifah wanted to make some changes, and there were two girls working there. She did the hair for like the wives, the wags of the time of the Atlanta Falcons or the Atlanta Hawks, because the movie was filmed in Atlanta. And the two girls who liked the way things were, Mercedes and Portia, y'all know what time it is, said, oh, y'all not trying to lighten up the place and paint and make it look good. Y'all trying to whiten up the place. That's what is meant by the gentrification of the NFL in Atlanta. All roads are pointing to Atlanta. And I'm so thankful that Baker Mayfield said what time it was, because the media was actively at work trying to force and absolve Kevin Stefanski with abusing Shedeur Sanders, a Black quarterback who was already abused in the draft and robbed. Trying to rob him of a career opportunity, derail his career, and make him feel like he's not worthy. The only time he can play the quarterback position is when Dylan is hurt. And how he didn't want Deshaun, and how he got Deshaun injured. I find it very interesting that exactly what happened to Baker Mayfield, with a receiver setting him up to get injured, and they used that to decline, to reduce his impact. And they said that's when the decline began. I find it very interesting that Stefanski would say he didn't want Deshaun around, but it's known on the inside he had a hand in destroying Baker to get Deshaun. And then he turned around and destroyed Deshaun the same way he destroyed Baker. And then he tried to destroy Shedeur the same way they destroyed Deshaun, and the same way they destroyed Baker. The MO is the same across the board. Predictable. So what you should see if he was still there in 2026, but you're going to see it in Atlanta with Michael Penix Jr., is what I already saw in Atlanta. A wide receiver sell out the quarterback. And the wide receiver coach got fired, not the player. Just like Jerry Jeudy, there were no consequences for Jerry Jeudy failing. And what did Tommy Reese, who just got hired in Atlanta, say? I love Jerry Jeudy. We're going to feature him more. So Tommy Reese was fully on board with derailing Shedeur Sanders as the quarterback. So today people are putting out all of the bogus plays called by Tommy Reese, like the raggedy Wildcats. The one in particular with Quinshon Judkins trying to run around with the ball. And whose idea was it? Was the punt from the 29-yard line? Tommy Reese. So they are a package deal. They are a package deal to head down to Atlanta and try to whiten up the place. The staff, the employees, the fans, likely the investors, the silent, limited partners. That's Stefanski's job, to lead that effort with the team. Since I've been living here and since I'm from New Orleans, I've watched the same thing happen over and over and over. Any and everything to take hold of New Orleans, majority black, and Atlanta, majority black. Any and everything. Gentrification, trying to move black people out to the suburbs with USDA loans, all sorts of kind of things. Anything to disrupt the stronghold, the power that black people have in New Orleans and in Atlanta. That's why I say the cities are cousins. It's the same thing in the NFL, trying to disrupt the power, sending Stefanski to act like an overseer of the Falcons to whiten up the place. And Baker Mayfield exposing his fraud against white players, not just black players. See, people was cool with it when it was black players, but now they looking at Wyatt Teller a little closer, retaliated against Wyatt Teller, who's white. Helped to get Baker Mayfield injured, who's white. People are now calling Stefanski a coward. I saw Stefanski today. He didn't look like himself. He didn't look like his arrogant self. He looked like he's perplexed. Like he walking into a building and these people don't want me here. And that's facts. And I'm getting exposed. That's just the beginning. I would love for RG3 to tell his story, even though Stefanski wasn't there, but it shows a pattern of abuse and corruption within the Browns organization. And it explains why they hired Stefanski when nobody else was interested. Because there's something he could provide. Now, I don't think he had to work to whiten up the fan base in Cleveland. I think it's already there. But what he succeeded at was in a city that's 42% black, where the Browns are moving from, was shutting down one of the best quarterbacks from a football legacy NFL family like Deion Sanders. Successfully kept him from playing all season. He could have started game one, held him back to the Ravens only in the second half. Then he got robbed. There's something going on here. With the Atlanta Falcons being a microcosm, along with the Browns and the other 30 teams, of what's happening in larger society where anti-blackness is being perpetuated. That's what we're seeing in Atlanta. That's why they chose Atlanta. They could have sent Kevin Stefanski to any other team. If you wanted to disrupt the black quarterback, they could have sent him to Nashville. They don't want to hurt Nashville. Why? Because the fan base is not predominantly black. They don't mind disrupting a predominantly black fan base where they really were greasing people's esophagus to come buy into Matt Ryan and Michael Penix Jr. so we could get your money. And we're going to destroy Michael Penix Jr. right in front of you like we did Shedeur. But Shedeur survived. Shedeur survived. Blake Whiteheart ripping off Shedeur Sanders' nail, his tight end. That was supposed to be the end of Shedeur. Because it is actually excruciating to have your nail ripped off your finger. Somebody said nephew is built for tough. Facts. Because I broke a damn nail in the middle of the nail. He had his ripped off the nail bed. My finger was sore and purple for over 3 to 4 weeks. And when I still went to get my nails done, it still was tender to the touch. All you saw Shedeur do was move Blake Whiteheart's foot so he could get his hand from under it and stand up. You think Blake Whiteheart didn't know he was standing on Shedeur's hand? Of course he did. When you standing that close to another person, you know you're doing something to him. But he wasn't helping him up. That was supposed to be so Dylan could get in just like he did. And they didn't give a damn what the fans think. When they planned that, they didn't care that the fans didn't see Dylan. That's how blinded they are by their goals, by their agenda. And what did the fans do as soon as he hit the field? They booed the hell out of him. And then you had Joel Batonio trying to tell people to be quiet. They didn't give a damn what the fans thought. And then Shedeur came back out the locker room after Dylan failed in lickety split time. Shedeur survived the Browns. Shedeur, don't be surprised if he get traded. He overcame Kevin Stefanski and the agenda to take him down, which is bigger than Kevin Stefanski. See, the Sanders represent a microcosm as well. The Sanders represent the culture and the power that the culture has, the power and the influence that Black culture has. And when they saw it coming to the NFL, with Shedeur coming out of school and Shiloh and Coach Prime being a coach, but having 14 to 15 players in the NFL, they already had their mind made up before the combine. We don't want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now. Why they didn't say that about Shiloh? Because they already had him handled when they snubbed him from the combine. So they were working in the draft to handle Shedeur. And they tried it, trying to send him to Baltimore to be buried, trying to send him to Philly to be buried. And he chose to go to the team that pre-drafted him extensively. So Shedeur overcame. And he had to be, he was abused for that. That's exactly why he was abused. Because I'm going to show you. We didn't want you here. We told you we didn't want you here. And you had the audacity to come here. And we tried to send you somewhere else, and you still came here. And they're getting exposed for it. So they're not going to let up on him. So he's going to have a decision to make. As all the other Black quarterbacks. But if he overcame, because he wasn't supposed to, he overcame Stefanski. Stefanski had to move on instead of Shedeur. Maybe he will be there next year. But I don't know just how much abuse God gonna let him take. So don't be surprised if he's gone. Because now Stefanski, the enigma, has moved on. So Shedeur is vindicated. Shout out to Baker Mayfield for putting the exclamation point behind Shedeur has been sabotaged by Kevin Stefanski. Exclamation point, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, let's talk about him. So Baker, contract is up. I looked up his contract. It was 3 years, $100 million, I think, with the Bucks. It ends in 2026. They already trying to push him out by telling the Bucks to draft someone else to replace Baker Mayfield. So since Baker Mayfield asked for a trade after Deshaun came, made a decision for himself, knew his worth, and made it to another team with a 4th round pick, then 5th. So devalue, and then he gets to the Bucks. He gets to the playoffs. He's actually been to the playoffs twice, I do believe. How many times Kevin Stefanski been to the playoffs? That's what fans are pointing out. That Baker Mayfield isn't lying. Shedeur Sanders sabotaged by Kevin Stefanski. Exclamation point. Now, fans are pointing out Baker Mayfield isn't lying. Exclamation point. So Baker's being pushed out himself. So there was no reason for him not to speak up. Deshaun Watson, you on the clock, sir. We need to hear from you. We need to know why you were the only person who has a $230 million guaranteed contract. What happened after you asked for a trade from the Texans? And why haven't you said anything? Are you waiting for them to give you an opportunity? Or are you waiting for them to pit you against another Black quarterback? Shedeur, let it be known what's going on. Baker Mayfield, let it be known what's going on. Now, it's time for Deshaun Watson to speak up and clarify and add some clarity to the situation of what happened after he got a trade. How it is the only person that can get 230 million guaranteed, and the three black quarterbacks that asked for the same money got the money but couldn't get the guarantee, got retaliated against, and is being pushed out because how dare black people ask for something. Deshaun Watson, we need to hear from you. See, this is one of the problems. All of this silence. That's why when you do hear something, it's starting to give you the impression that it's rotten to the core on the inside, and it is nowhere near about football. That all of this aggressive control is to mimic the anti-blackness in larger society. Or to, if you white, how dare you think you can choose for yourself? If we want to bring in Deshaun to kill his career, you got to get the hell out by any means necessary. And because Baker said, I'm not going to sit here on this damn bench and waste my career, he got passed around. Then he made it to Tampa. See, that was the plan for Shedeur on the way in. Y'all just don't know it. When they compared Shedeur to Geno Smith, I knew what time it was. I looked up Geno Smith's career. Every year he was on a new team, and he was also devalued in the draft. Also supposed to be a first-round draft pick. So Shedeur wasn't the first one. He wasn't the only one. But I do think it is the worst one that we've seen publicly in our era. So Baker Mayfield is being pushed out of Tampa because he had the audacity to leave. But see, why can't Deshaun leave? Why can't Shedeur get traded? Why is there no conversation about Shedeur being traded? Maybe Joe Thomas can fill us in. So after Baker put out this post, just like Tony Grossi, just like Mary Cabot, Joe Thomas, whose name I remember, came out and tried to say something about Baker. I didn't reply to it because it's a lot of people replying to it, and I'm picking and choosing. And I said, wait, the same Joe Baker that told Shedeur, come in and shut your mouth? Now he want to say something about Baker? I said, okay, we got Tony Grossi, Joe Thomas, Mary Cabot, and Ledbetter, who people in Atlanta seemingly can't stand. And yes, he's black. And Ledbetter reposting Mary Cabot. I said, so the media is now being exposed because I knew they was working together. Because they always parroting the same thing. They lazy. So Joe Thomas want to take a swing at Baker like he took a swing at Shedeur. But I checked his recent comments on Shedeur. He thinks Shedeur could be the franchise QB after Shedeur came to Cleveland and he told Shedeur to shut his mouth. You know who needs to shut the hell up? Joe Thomas. So Shedeur need to be weary of careful about people who initially tear him down, but suddenly think he could be a franchise quarterback, knowing that the Browns want to draft the Manning kid. Or are they going to draft Ryan Stott and put him in front of Shedeur? Forget back at Colorado against Coach Prime and Shedeur. I posted today that there were a lot of premeditated actions. I'm going to read them off to you. I think I made it to 8. And now that time has passed, and in a few years, just like with Baker Mayfield's situation, people looking back to see what took place 4 years ago. 4 years from now, you're going to take a look back to see what took place with Shedeur Sanders in 2025 and in Cleveland in 2026. It's funny how people forget. But when I looked at Reddit, I had a chance to see what? I had a chance to see that the fan base was going in on Baker after he took them to the Super Bowl and actually liked Deshaun and hated Baker. So the fan base falls in line with whatever the media does and whatever the Browns tell the media to do and say. That is why it took them forever to get on board about Dylan being a pawn and not good is standing up for Shedeur, which is why I say trade Shedeur. And don't be surprised if they get forced into it. They send him down here to Atlanta with Michael Penix Jr. because that's how they are. That's exactly how they are. Don't be surprised. So Shedeur got to be very careful if he's because it ain't game over up there just because Stefanski's gone. Because Stefanski wasn't working alone. And just because he took Tommy Rees with him, don't mean it's game over. And just because you get a new coach, it don't mean it's game over. Are they looking for a Stefanski 2.0? McDaniels told the Browns, thank you, but no thank you, and withdrew from their process and took a job somewhere else. I think he took the Chargers job. So it's a whole lot of division happening. Not just with Shedeur Sanders and the Browns fan base, but now Baker Mayfield and the Baker Bros coming back. And now the Browns fan base, after they were conned into believing Dylan was the guy and learning that Shedeur was the guy and Stefanski is not a head coach. So now the Browns fan base are feeling some type of weight. So let's move on to the Falcons. Shout out to Baker Mayfield. So the Falcons, people say they made a big mistake. Hiring Stefanski against all the red flags. You knew the red flags. You chose to ignore the red flags. Instead, you got excited about the abuse. You got excited about the intimidation. You got excited about the retaliation. You got excited about the opportunity to push Michael Penix Jr. out the way, and you tried to con your fans, and they found out about it. Your fans let you know they not having it. And now you stuck. Because you done let Stefanski sign a contract for $15 million, and the fans like, we ain't coming. You done disrespected Coach Prime and the house that he built, Atlanta, as it pertains to football. But the culture. If Shedeur came here, that's what it would be. If Shiloh came here, that's what it would be. And in addition to that, you showed everybody that you likely had a hand in the prank and the robbery. Because you surely didn't stand against it. And if you're not against it, then you're for it. Did somebody inside the Falcons organization help to fire 4 people on the ground in Atlanta and send the information up to Cleveland? Because it seems that the Browns and the Falcons working together. That's not unbelievable, is it? I mean, that's not too far-fetched. Is it? Is it a relative or somebody that used to work there? Somebody that still worked there? Because what the Falcons showed us is we don't want y'all as fans. We don't value y'all as fans. We don't respect Coach Prime's legacy. Falcons. We don't want Shedeur. We don't want Shiloh. So you don't want none of us. So why you try to con us with saying Michael Penix Jr. is who y'all committed to, but then you turn around and hire an enigma who tried to destroy Shedeur, Baker, and Deshaun, who had 11, 12, 13 quarterbacks in 5-6 years. And all of the quarterbacks are a problem. And Stefanski has an offensive mind. He's an offensive guru. But the Browns didn't let him do his job. He didn't have nothing to work with. Stefanski chose who he worked with. Has them said it. Stefanski chooses who to play. So he chose to play the worst people so Shedeur can fail. And when Dylan was out there, he let the defense go 110% for nothing. Because he knew Dylan wasn't going to win. So the question for Dylan is, when did he buy into it? When he signed his contract, did he know he was going to fail? Because he knew he wasn't a third-round pick. He knew he was an undrafted free agent before he went to college. Or did he make that decision when he was back at Oregon? since we know Dan Lanning has ties to Atlanta and Georgia. He sure seemed to like it here. And Dylan just went back to Oregon with his girlfriend after they left Cleveland. See how it's all coming together? All roads point to Atlanta. And the Falcons tried it with their fan base. And their fan base said, hey, you remember what happened to Target? That's going to be you. And now they're trying to save face. And they like, well, we just going to keep going on with our decision. We're not going to let nothing, we're not going to change up nothing. Cool. Do what you're going to do. But you ain't fooling nobody. Let's just get that straight. So understand what you're seeing happen with the Falcons, the decision they made is anti-blackness. Firing a black coach, hiring a white one, and the black coach had a better record than the white one. Pushing out the black GM who was successful and allowing the white coach who failed not only to fail up and get handsomely paid for it, but to fail and choose someone who shares his vision and values, someone who doesn't believe that black quarterbacks are worthy of being quarterbacks, someone who will likely undervalue black skilled players and choose white players, skilled players over black players in the draft. Pay attention to Atlanta Falcons in the draft. It seems like for some people associated with the Falcons, having a black quarterback and a black fan base and black limited partners in a black city is just too much. Sell your damn team. But no, they want to burn it all down. They want to whiten up the place and pick people that don't value and respect black people. This is about anti-blackness, just like it is in larger society. So Atlanta, pay attention to the draft. Pay attention to free agency signings. Pay attention to who leaves, who's hired. Pay attention to the blacks that move out, the whites that move in. Understand that is also supposed to translate into the city. That is supposed to translate into the face of the city. This is about anti-blackness. All right, so we're going to take a listen so y'all can kind of maybe hear this interview from Tony Grossi about Baker Mayfield. And I want you to think about Tony Grossi and how he behaved where Dylan was concerned and Shedeur was concerned. It said Tony always hated Baker.
Longtime Cleveland sports reporter
Watson, can you keep it going? Mahomes,
and now Burrow.
And
who do we got? Fucking midget.
Longtime Cleveland sports reporter Tony Grossi has been suspended indefinitely.
Seems like there was a lack of urgency there, or something going on.
There was a penalty, so we were negative yardage.
No, but there was a lot.
Okay, what you're looking at is where Baker Mayfield goes. Listen to him talk about football, and he's being asked the question. Just take a listen.
The time between snaps.
Well, when the penalty happened and we're behind the chains. No, stop saying but. I just told you the clock was running and we had a penalty. You want to give them the ball back? No, you don't play. You don't know it. That's just plain and simple.
Happy with that drive?
Was I happy with the drive? No, we didn't score points. It's the dumbest question.
Between snaps.
Well, when the penalty happened and we're behind the chains. No, stop saying but. I just told you the clock was running and we had a penalty. You want to give them the ball back? No, you don't play. You don't know it. That's just plain and simple.
Happy with that drive?
Was I happy with the drive? No, we didn't score points.
So apparently it seemed like it was a drive to convert. This is what I mean by Baker knows football. There was a drive to convert. A penalty was thrown up. We saw this before with Shedeur. Why does the penalty pop up? Because they want to kill the drive. He said, we're behind the chains. He said, And Tony is basically asking him, was he happy with the drive? He's saying no. Baker is telling him what was supposed to happen and it didn't. Baker said, you don't know because you've never played, right? So see, Baker knew football. And if he was like that with Grossi, willing to tell the truth, willing to tell it what it should be, and not willing to just shut up and dribble or shut your mouth, as Joe Thomas suggested about Shedeur. See how many times they tried to bait Shedeur in about calls that Stefanski made? So everything they did to Baker after he was successful, they brought in Stefanski to push him out. They hired Andrew Berry and Stefanski about the same time to do what? Push out Baker and Andrew Berry the fall. And Haslam keeps his hands clean. And for years, that's what happened. Baker's this, Baker's that. Baker wanted out after they brought in Deshaun. According to the media, Stefanski never wanted Deshaun. In fact, when Stefanski got fired, they said, well, he never wanted Deshaun. Baker is pointing out that's a lie. And now people are saying Stefanski is a coward. And this is coming from white people. I suspect with the national media standing on his head, that's why he looks unlike him arrogant self. He's being called out by the national media. He ought to know what that means. Who does the national media represent? The NFL. So who's being played here? Who's being played here? Atlanta lit a match to their organization where they played by the Browns so they could take Stefanski off their hands because he a legal liability. And that liability just transferred over to them. Think about that. Remember, Matt Ryan changed his agency in the middle of this deal away from Jimmy Sexton and that group. So did the Atlanta Falcons play themselves or did they get played by the Browns to take that heat off of them? The same way Jerry Jeudy got played to take that heat off Stefanski and make himself motive number one. There's a lot of playing happening here. Because with the national media calling out Stefanski, you ought to be side-eyeing that. What's ESPN saying? Honestly, I didn't watch any of that. Look at what they saying. I heard they took Stephen A. off the NBA countdown desk. You see, it never pays to do their bidding. Stefanski did their bidding. Seemingly, Stefanski got a $15 million contract unless he get arrested in the misconduct charges, voids that out, right? Right? Brian Callahan already on the ground. Offensive line coach, he quickly take the headset. Who being played? Who being played? Pay attention. Because the Browns wanted Stefanski gone because the fans, the majority white fan base, didn't want to come back. In Atlanta, the fan base is majority black, and they seem to have no problem disrespecting the black fan base. What's in it for the Falcons? So, before I head over to the comments, Shedeur vindicated! Exclamation point is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield vindicated. In that respect, actually, Deshaun is being vindicated. How is Deshaun being vindicated? There's a post going around today that talks about Deshaun, Baker were never told when they were going to take their first start. Baker found out in the press. Shedeur found out he was playing for the Ravens right before the start of the game. Deshaun found out right before the start of the game. So they're talking about that's the communication issue with Stefanski. Or was it a game that he was playing? Is it a coincidence that the three people they try to push out, the communication was poor? The receiver stopped running on the routes. They all sustained injuries. Injuries that could have disrupted their careers forever. Except for Shedeur. He was supposed to not play for the rest of the season. Dylan was supposed to get those last W's because they knew they were going to win those games. Shedeur actually had more wins than Dillon. Remember when Stefanski wanted to go right back to Dillon after the Ravens game and he got vetoed? Remember when the president came out and said, I told you so after the Raiders, the Vegas game about Shedeur, and Shedeur got to keep playing, and how Stefanski was running the Wildcats and trying to take him out with the Raggedy Wildcats. And Coach Prime was at the games. And people was talking about Shedeur's him. So Shedeur had to keep playing. And Stefanski still tried to get Dillon in by ripping off Shedeur's finger. And has him told Coach Prime face to face, let's just say Shedeur has a good game. And a switch was flipped. And Shedeur had an excellent game. Then after that, they stepped on his hand and Dillon came in. Luckily, Shedeur is built for tough and he came back. So notice, they never stopped trying to negatively impact Shedeur in the quarterback space. Never. Once the president came out, Shedeur was a starter for the rest of the season. Stefanski tried it with the whole ripping the nail off, but it failed. And then Stefanski went right back to wristband gate, ripping the nail off, and then Stefanski gets fired. So let me get this straight. You said you could win more than 5 games, but you never fired Stefanski. You never benched Jerry Jeudy. In fact, you say you wanted to feature him more. The public had to call him out for him to stop harassing Shedeur. Then he kept sitting underneath Shedeur. The president says, I told you so. Shedeur remains the starter, even though Stefanski wants to go back to Dillon. Stefanski runs to the newspaper crying, which is essentially NFL, saying that the personnel decisions are causing problems. The personnel decision was, I guess, the GM and the owner playing Shedeur and keep playing Shedeur, and Stefanski couldn't have his way no more. Why wasn't Stefanski fired? Because he knows where the bodies are buried. So they sent him out with a parting gift to Atlanta to disrupt over there. The fan base over there is black. They gonna show up anyway. Just hire Matt Ryan and tell him Penix gonna be quarterback. They ain't gonna give a damn about Shedeur. Black people don't stick together. False. False. Stefanski wasn't fired because he knows where the bodies are buried. Stefanski was offloaded to the Falcons and rewarded for his services. Was he rewarded for Baker and Deshaun and Jameis Winston and DTR and Shedeur and PJ Walker? Was he rewarded for all of it? Other coaches throw games. Other coaches lose seasons to let the other team go ahead. That's not new. So what was he rewarded for? Some people think it's about Shedeur. Now that we know about Baker. Baker was there. Baker still has it rough. They still going in on him. They still trying to push him out. We know why Stefanski wasn't fired, because he know where the bodies are buried. He know what he was asked to do. He was rewarded for what he was asked to do. Did that ask involve Deshaun? And the reason the answer could be yes is because an insurance company is paying Deshaun's salary. Did the ask involve Baker? The answer is yes, probably. And why? Because you take the Deshaun contract and you get a new stadium, maybe. And then you don't have to pay all of Deshaun's salary when he get injured. The insurance company gonna pay it. Who owns the insurance company? And since you managed to suppress Deshaun, why don't you get Shedeur too and do the same? But he failed. So why did he get rewarded? Is he being rewarded in advance to come to Atlanta and do what you did to Cleveland? Didn't Cleveland fire him? Why is he being rewarded? Let me see what y'all are thinking. He could be rewarded for all of it. It said the flyest show on the planet. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Remind, like, hyper, subscribe. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tina. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It said good evening, good evening. Yes, welcome back, Mama Tia. It said Lady T's in the building, Miss Pam. Facts. Good evening, good evening, good evening. It said, what's up with them? It said Black ATL podcast is calling Stefanski handsome. Yup, Miss Pamela. It said, dear Stefanski. It said breakout. It said you are getting bum rushed. Facts. It said you forgot. It's Atlanta. Very, 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 very true. Very true. Bribery is a crime. Bribery is absolutely a crime. And now, see, Baker Mayfield is just not shedding light on what happened with Stefanski. It's actually shedding light on the organization. And you have to understand, if they trying to push Baker out of the Browns and he was successful, and they trying to push him out of the Bucks and he went over there and climbed his way back up to be successful, why are they really trying to push Baker out? Because he's going to tell the truth. Baker's not just telling the truth about Stefanski. Baker is shining a light on corruption that we saw play out when Shedeur was the quarterback. Corruption that maybe just played out in Cleveland against Caleb Williams when his wide receiver started running on, gave up on his route. Corruption that played out possibly with the Giants when it was Jameis Winston and the wide receiver stopped running on the route. That's the Giants, the Bears, and the Browns, right? It either already happened in Atlanta, and there are some people that are going to go back and look at who the wide receivers are, like Jerry Jeudy, that's stopping running on their routes. And who is it that's getting negatively impacted? From what I could see, Shedeur, Caleb, and Jameis Winston. What do the three of them have in common? They're Black. What else do they have in common? Two of them came through Cleveland, and the goal was for them to be devalued, but they both elevated to starting quarterbacks for the season. Jameis Winston in New York after injury. Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland. And they want you to think it was because of the injury. That's another issue, faking injuries, weaponizing injuries, getting players injured on purpose. Baker Mayfield post exposes corruption. Now that people are talking about Schwartz again, and Schwartz did what Jerry Jeudy did, and Stefanski was a head coach for both, it seems that the corruption has been there all along. That's how valuable Baker Mayfield's post is. It's beyond Stefanski. That's why he's getting pushed out. That's why so many people tried to clap back today. Because how do you get a wide receiver in New York to start running on his route when the quarterback is Jameis and not when it's Jackson Dart? How do you get a wide receiver to start running on his route when Caleb Williams is the quarterback and there's a playoff elimination game happening? How do you get a wide receiver in the Browns to start running on his route, to give up on his route when it's Shedeur, somebody that you abused and clearly did not want to be starting quarterback or playing quarterback at all? Why did Stefanski think he could get away with it? How did they communicate? Bribery is a crime. That is what Baker Mayfield's post is exposing. Corruption. This is beyond football. This is organizational corruption. And not just the Browns. Now, Chicago, the Giants, Atlanta. Is that why the wide receiver coach that was Black that got fired? Was he made a scapegoat because the wide receiver, I think Mooney, was giving up on his routes, setting up Michael Penix Jr.? And then they want to bring in Stefanski, who did the same thing. So why was Stefanski rewarded? Because bribery is a crime. And somebody going to jail. I don't know who the foul person going to be, but Atlanta was risky for Stefanski. I will tell you that. It said Deshaun Watson looks like the NFL took his soul. He's not going to speak up. They broke him. Now, maybe. You might be right about that. You might be right. It says Stefanski left Baker for dead in that Steelers game. It was painful to watch the way Stefanski set Baker up to be hurt. It said, if I was Baker, I would still have a grudge also. It said, even the announcers called it out. And which year was this? So I can look it up. Donald, let me know. Hey, Anthony, how you doing? How you doing? Yup, slick stuff. It said Kevin bought potato salad to barbecue with the raisins. Yup. And they trying to push out the regular potato salad. It said, good evening. What she said, sports and family. How you doing, Crowley? Welcome back. Catching up to the cold birds. Absolutely. And understand, they talking cold. When Stefanski was on his way out, and it was very ignorant of the owner to let Stefanski continue to coach if he said we can win more than 5 games. See, that don't add up, do it? You say we can win more than 5 games, but you don't put Schwartz in as the head coach, interim. You don't fire Stefanski and make Schwartz the head coach, but you on your second interview with Schwartz to be the head coach. Why you didn't make him the head coach then? Why didn't you replace Stefanski? Why didn't you bench Jerry Jeudy? It points to corruption all the way up to the owner. And because Stefanski reported to the owner separately from Andrew Berry, and Andrew Berry reported separately to the owner from Stefanski. You see how he played one against the other and got them both to do what he wanted overall without Andrew Berry hearing the main agenda, and then Stefanski hearing the adapted agenda. He played both of them. Got both of them to do what he wanted to do and keep his hands clean. Brought them in because they knew. They knew they was going to get Deshaun. They knew. It said definitely an anti-black climate in this country. It said war has been declared on black people. That's what it seems like, especially in the NFL. It said pay attention. It said many people are in denial. Yep, people are in denial. I will agree to that. Bye, Judy. Yep, facts. Bye, Tommy. He said bye, Judy. Bye, Tommy. It said I'm wondering when are these people going to get arrested. It's going to be a while. It might not be as long as you think, but it's going to be a surprise. It said apparently slick stuff travels. Watch out there now. It said what is shocking is the lack of outrage from black players in the NFL. I mean, honestly, I hate to tell you, but go back to Colin Kaepernick. How many people stood kneel with Colin Kaepernick? Was it 3, 2? It's the same thing. Colin Kaepernick wasn't supposed to care about black people. Black people in Atlanta are not supposed to care about Shedeur. And they let a white guy say it because they ain't stupid. You see how they know what to do? Because they've done it before. We know we can't have black men telling people not to give a damn about Shedeur because that ain't going to go well. They probably going to be able to walk outside. Not at the Kroger and people know who they are. So they let the white guy say it. See, that right there is, that's low down right there, right? That means they playing you mentally. They playing you. They're manipulating you. Then there's the Ledbetter guy. He knew to call Baker Mayfield a bum because he writes for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution in a black city. And somebody else he called a bum. I don't even know who it was. And maybe that's why he threw them in there, because we don't know who they are. They didn't think we knew Baker's story. They didn't think we would give a damn about it because they're not black. They called Deshaun a bum because everybody beats up on Deshaun, but they don't talk about Justin Tucker like that. And he was smart enough not to call Shedeur a bum because he ain't stupid. And that should tell you, if you have in Atlanta who's posting Mary Cabot in Cleveland, refraining from saying anything to irritate people about Shedeur, refraining from saying anything negative about Shedeur, but throwing Baker and Deshaun under the bus because people in Atlanta don't know what the hell is going on in Cleveland. See, that's how they play you. Divide and conquer. That's why you have to have a holistic view of the league and know what the hell just happened to Caleb is what happened to Shedeur, is what happened to Baker Mayfield, and likely what already happened to Michael Penix Jr., where Kevin Stefanski just arrived and Dan Lanning is. Why the hell is Dan Lanning in Atlanta? Didn't I tell y'all? He had roots of people here or some type of business because he was the coach in Georgia. Why the hell is he here? They all suspects in this robbery. They all had motive. And now they showing us that they all had ties to Atlanta. They letting you know this. Because what you gonna do? Well, what happened when they hired Stefanski and the fans disapproved before they hired him? The truth came out, didn't it? And they're going to keep going forward with it because they got too much pride to say, oh, we shouldn't have did this. But they knew what they was doing. So now everybody is putting the dots together. Dillon ran back to Oregon with his girlfriend who said everybody in the building wants Shedeur to play. Dan Lanning over here taking pictures in Atlanta with Jordan Seaton. Don't know why the hell up in Atlanta because Oregon is in Portland, Oregon, or wherever the hell it's at, Eugene. Oregon is in Eugene, not Atlanta. So why the hell are they meeting with Jordan Seaton in Atlanta? Why the hell would Atlanta hire Kevin Stefanski, who just abused Shedeur, the son of Deion Sanders, who put Atlanta on the map in terms of the Falcons? They're trying to tell you who gonna check me, boo. Sit back. Because it didn't take long for Baker to come out after they hired Stefanski, did it? Something else coming. The unexpected is coming. The who check me, boo is getting answers. And 24 hours later, people trying to counter it, and it falls flat. And that incites the fans to start talking and telling the truth. And now Dan Lanning wants to have his moment in the sun with Jordan Seaton in Atlanta, with Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta, where the robbers are from, Atlanta. All roads point to Atlanta. They trying to tell you. And that should tell you something. It said, Baker showed these other black players and black media how to stand up. Everybody also knows, too, Baker can stand up because he's white. Don't get lost on it. Understand that the Jim Crow-esque system exists. You don't just become anti-black. You were already anti-black in the way you did business. Now you're just going public with it. Black quarterbacks have always been intimidated. Black quarterbacks have always known that there's a different standard for you. What is the standard? They all elite. So what the hell is it? That you come in here, you take what we give you, and you shut your mouth. This is security for you, boy. They already said Shedeur on the NFL website should be happy with being a backup for 10 years. That's not new. Let's see what happened to Baker Mayfield contract, and you're going to see the difference between a white quarterback and a black one. The fact that Baker Mayfield asked to leave after they got Deshaun, and Baker asked to leave and got his trade. And yes, they made it harder for him, but they also let him come back. Deshaun Watson asked for a trade, just like Baker Mayfield. People look at Deshaun and look at the money. Deshaun wants to play football, and they won't let him. All they do is kick on him, mock him, taunt him, and a white player did the same thing, and it's crickets. Come on in here, take this money, do what we tell you to do, boy, and shut your mouth. That's Deshaun's situation. People were happy to see Deshaun talking with Shedeur on the sideline. They let him out. But when Deshaun said he was going to take Shedeur under his wing, what happened? They told him to stay inside. Where's Charles Woodson? Sure, his bank account is fatter, but they actually abused a black quarterback under his watch. See how they do? It's always about the money. I suspect that's why Jordan Seaton is in a photo with Dan Lanning in Atlanta. It said, yup, Atlanta was a statement hire. Facts. Later for Matt Ryan. Facts. It said the whole fan base knows what's up. Absolutely, McMillan. It said he has no room for the foolishness. Right. See, he on blast now. He on blast. And the Falcons in trouble. It said Debo. Yeah, they spineless. It said when Drew Brees was injured in 2019, his thumb injury, or 2020 rib injury, his replacements varied. It was Teddy Bridgewater stepping in for a significant stretch, and Teddy was used. Teddy was being used in Detroit. We watched that game. It was some kind of, was it year before last? They brought Teddy Bridgewater in. Jared Goff was messing up. Teddy Bridgewater came in and the ship, and they put Teddy Bridgewater back on the bench and put Jared Goff back in, and he lost. I'm like, why y'all just didn't stay with Teddy Bridgewater? Then Tampa brought in Teddy Bridgewater this year behind Baker, or last year behind Baker. Might have been this year and last year. I know it was this year when Shiloh was there, because I was like, I didn't know Teddy Bridgewater was in Tampa, and I looked it up. Yep. See how they did Teddy Bridgewater? He's good. Because of the time that he came in, the era. Deshaun was a part of that era, which is why when he asked for a trade, they was like, get the hell out of here. Terrell Pryor, from that era, he asked for a trade. They sent him to Cleveland as a wide receiver. The last time the Browns drafted a wide receiver, which is a position held by black people a lot. Last time they drafted one in the first round was 2016. I think they had a black GM at the time. They don't value the wide receiver position. Baker Mayfield was throwing to Schwartz, who I think is just now ending his rookie contract, and he only made $4 million. So why would you have Baker Mayfield throwing to Schwartz, who's not that guy? So you could get away with when he stops on his route. I read it on Reddit. People were trying to justify it. And underneath those comments trying to justify Schwartz stopping on his route, some people said, well, he went to Oregon. That's how they play football. And people said, nah, you in the pros. You can't play like that. And then people tried to say that was a hospital ball. And they were like, nope. And then you can't throw the ball into tight spaces. It was all kind of excuses, but they kept getting countered. They kept getting countered. There is no excuse for it. Just like but now there's a pattern. There's a pattern now. See, we didn't know about Schwartz, and we didn't follow Cleveland for a whole season. Shout out to Baker Mayfield. This is about corruption. How long will it be before you hear somebody connect the dots on the wide receivers, give it up on their routes where the quarterback is black or the quarterback they want to move out the way? Let's see how long it takes. Because the pattern is there. The most recent one was against Caleb. Before that, Shedeur. Now we know about Schwartz. Before I learned about Schwartz, I learned about what happened with Jameis Winston and the dude that stopped running on the route. That cost them the game. Jameis just went. Sure, he's seen it before. It's something that they do. It's corrupt. And they keep doing it. Let's see if they get caught. They don't think they're going to get caught for the robbery, so I don't know why anybody thinks they will get caught for the wide receivers. Bribed, encouraged, forced, coerced, intimidated, paid, happy to do it, stop running on their routes with mostly black quarterbacks. Just like mostly black quarterbacks this year had ACL injuries and injuries that insurance companies will pay their salary. That's fraud. Shout out to Baker Mayfield. It said this upcoming season in ATL is not about to be good. With the history of Georgia, it said you took an overseer and put him in Atlanta. They said, what was the owner thinking? I don't know. I really don't know, but it's not what he was thinking. What's in it for him? What was in it for the Browns for taking on Deshaun? You don't know that. What happened after they took Deshaun's contract? What was the next major thing that happened? The stadium. So Stefanski gets fired. We got to move him. They selling him like he the most expensive cheese out here, and you want to have it. Trying to tell people he all dressing him up like he's the guy when he's a walking red flag and an enigma. He might as well walk in there wearing a KKK suit, hood, and jackets. And they trying to act like that's not what it is. And people are like, we looking at it. We telling you what it is. And now we know you know what it was. So let's see what's the next big thing that they get. My guess, a stadium. Because they do not own Mercedes-Benz. And the city is rapidly developing around them. And they don't own that either. And every owner wants what Jerry Jones has. The star. You see Cleveland got it. Now you see Atlanta mimicking Cleveland. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. It said good black don't crack at all. Just maybe God made these moves for a reason. It's going to always be for a reason. Come to an all-black city to bring the collusion out and to put it on Front Street. Yep, it's going to always be for a reason, and that could be it. That could be it. Oh, it's always for a reason. It ain't never in vain. I think somebody said it. It said God is not slow. He's strategic. I'm like, facts. And understand this. Everything that has happened and everything that's continuing to happen and everything that is allowed to happen is a part of the aha moment. The higher they go, the harder they fall. And the more people that are being ensnared, because I'm watching people practically try to tell us Atlanta. And if the case was still open, would they be doing that? No. So with the case closed, maybe they're playing right into the Fed's hands. Let's catch them off guard. Because they out here trying to tell it. Dan Lanning, Atlanta, Jordan Seaton, really? Really? Wouldn't you want to go to Eugene, Oregon and see what it looked like? And that, are you going to be playing in Atlanta or are you going to be playing in Eugene, Oregon? Why would you just go there? So you can stand on the stadium and hear the people screaming for you. Isn't that what you normally do? Atlanta. Okay. You don't have to put up with abuse and racism. Nope. They're not saying they don't have to put up with none of it. They don't have to put up with none of it. Nobody has to put up with any of it. Nobody does. But you notice they don't talk about it. So it's something that they want and they're willing to do whatever to get it. That's what the movie Him is about. I hope he gets traded out of Cleveland. Me too, Debo. It said the Sanders represent black excellence. Absolutely. Absolutely. It said, good evening, everyone. Yep. Good evening. Hey, Amber, welcome back. Welcome back. It said the Sanders are part of the movement. Yep. See, the Sanders represent, the microcosm that they represent is the culture. Atlanta, the culture, synonymous with the city because predominantly black people. There goes the Falcons, right? They didn't draft Shedeur because why? They already know what would happen. They didn't want to repeat what Coach Prime did. So if I didn't want to repeat what Coach Prime did, when I'm happy to do it when it's other people's families, right? When I'm happy to do that, if it's the Kelseys, the Mannings, I'm happy to do it. But I don't want to repeat all of the excitement that Coach Prime brought. Instead, I insult these people by saying Atlanta was a part of the prank. I insult these people by kicking Shiloh out. I insult these people by taking the abuser from Cleveland and hiring him in Atlanta. I insult the fan base who loves these people. By all means necessary, they are trying to push out the Sanders' power and influence and the culture. Somebody used the term gentrification. I don't really think that's the way to look at it, but it makes sense. When you think of what gentrification is context-wise. Something that's black and white people pushing it out and taking over. But understand this. They see this as a white space. And they already knew before Shedeur even came to the combine and said he wanted to change the culture. I said it before. He said he wanted to change the culture. They heard something else. They heard, oh, you want to make decisions. You think you have power. You think you have influence. They heard something totally different. And now look at how they're moving. We ain't even got back to the draft yet. And while we're talking about this Super Bowl, they already set it up for who's going to win the division. I'm going to go with Tyler Shaw. The only reason they'll let Stefanski win this year is, oh, you know what? We're going to have to let him win because the fans don't want to show up to the game. Yeah, because that wasn't the plan. The plan was for Stefanski to hold back Penix. So Tyler Shaw could come through because it damn sure wasn't going to be Baker and it damn sure ain't going to be Bryce. So if it ain't going to be Bryce, it ain't going to be Penix, it ain't going to be Baker, it's going to be Shaw. That had already been decided. But now we got the unexpected. The fans don't want to show up. It's not working because the media can't manipulate them into buying into the team because of racism. So I got to do something. Or I'm going to have to let Penix go. And if he wins, then that goes against what we want to do. And we did all that other shit for nothing. Thanks. I keep saying what they did to Shedeur in the draft was a waste of time. Because something's going to happen. And there's going to be 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 black starting quarterbacks. In fact, there already are. They're just stacked together on teams like they tried to do Shedeur in Philly, Shedeur in Baltimore. Stack him behind another player and he would never get to play unless he's injured. Isn't that what they call themselves doing to Shedeur this year? All right. That's the message. That's why they want him to be comfortable in the back. Come in, take what we give you, boy, and shut your mouth. So when you see Joe Thomas, who told Shedeur to shut his mouth, saying, oh, he could be a franchise quarterback in Cleveland, what's the play? Because there is one. They're going to build him up again like they did in the draft and then go draft somebody else. Because, see, they're not paying him no more money. They already robbed him. They succeeded at robbing him. He should be making the 40 mil plus the jerseys, the 40 mils plus the endorsements. It said, I was glad they booed Dylan, the slick quarterback who made the comment about, yep, competitors versus entertaining. And you know where he got that from. Dan Lanning. And where did I say that his girlfriend went first after they left Cleveland? Oregon, where Dan Lanning is, who made that comment. And who's with Dan Lanning this past a couple of days ago or a day ago? Jordan C. Not in Eugene, in Atlanta. Barry seems to be trying to build a roster around Shedeur's skill set. Okay, I'm going to say this about Andrew Barry one more time. Andrew Barry seems to be good at devaluing black players and drafting white ones over black ones and paying them the money. Everybody that balled out with Shedeur, along with Shedeur, Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fanning Jr., Dylan Sampson, the heartbeat of that offense, even Isaiah Bond, who went to Texas, was devalued. Who did they draft first? Mason Graham. Who did they draft second? Carson Schwarzenegger. Carson Schwarzenegger had 2 of the only fully guaranteed contracts in the second round. Something that had never even happened before. In fact, the 2 players that had the only only guaranteed contracts in the second round, one went to the Browns and one went to the Texans, Deshaun. If Andrew Barry tried to use his connections to get Shedeur to Cleveland and Philly, I don't know what side he on. And we shouldn't assume he on Shedeur's side because he black, because that's how you get played. That's how you get played, and that might be how you got robbed. Because somebody went over there and took that picture to let them know where to go. And they were in Cleveland. They did not drive from Atlanta to say, go look at this house that I don't know the address to. and take this photo. That's the big clue right there. It said Baker is one of the boys that don't smile with people he don't like. Yep. It seems like Baker got his own mind. It said the new coach probably doesn't want Shedeur either. They're going to make sure they hire some. Let me tell you what they're going to tell the new coach. All right, we're not trying to win this year. All right. But the fans don't want to come to the game, so we got to do something. And we don't need the fans seeing Shedeur ball out because we're going to have to move him out. And because we're trying to get the Manning kid. Or we're going to get Ryan Staub and put him in front of Shedeur. Because he did sign with Tennessee. And I want you to know that's a play. And it proves they're not going to stop at all. It said Deshaun not going to say anything. He enjoyed his hush money. You think that's what it is? The question is, why did he get it? It said, I looked up that Ledbetter dude and he looks just like a yeah, people been going in on the Ledbetter. And when I saw him repost Mary Cabin, I was like, what? I was like, there it is. There it is. They all working together across state lines. They all working together. They all working together across state lines to trash anybody who wants to trash. They are doing the bidding. That's why you can't listen to none of them. I listen to them. I don't. I really don't. And that's why I'm like, you know what? I look at people repeat them all day. I'm like, because you're really just giving them airspace, right? And it's okay to talk about a topic, but you're talking about people that are actually playing in your face. You're talking about people that claim to love the Browns, but when the Browns were put into playoff position or playoff hunt with Shedeur Sanders, it was crickets. You talk about people that love the Browns, and Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback they have, and they kept putting him at the bottom of the chart because they was using jersey numbers and not stats. Not advocating that the best player is played until the stretch of the games were in the dead of winter in the toughest stretch. And Shedeur did really well. And they know that, and they still don't care. Instead, in the offseason, they want to talk about getting this person, getting that person. Shedeur hadn't proven anything, but they claim to love the Browns. If you claim to love the Browns and have the Browns' best interests at heart, you out here campaigning for Shedeur. But they know. They know the Manning kid is up next. Unless it's Ryan Staub and they change. Because see, when unexpected happens, it forces them to have to pivot sometimes. Remember when they said, oh, Stefanski's job is safe. Until it wasn't. Until it wasn't. Until the fans stopped showing up. See, fan accountability, it's just all a machine. It's all a machine without the fans. It's not for the fans. They don't give a damn about the fans. They're doing whatever they want to do with playing with people's lives, being racist. They don't care. They do not care. It's when the fans show up and say something, not just show up, but say something. Apply accountability, which is what Baker Mayfield did. A black quarterback can't do that. Not live to work there another day. Don't even think that for a second. That means you ain't paying attention if you think that. Jim Crow is alive and well on the inside. Submission is what they get forced into. It said even Odell Beckham and Kareem Hunt was pushed out once he got hurt. Jenkins is his replacement. Oh, Odell Beckham Jr. said he got sent there for his career to die. He sure did. And then remember that one player we heard? Remember the Johnny Manziel? Remember that guy? He said, I still have that video. Let's look at that one more time. I need y'all to tell me who this guy is. We have talked about this. I need to know who this guy is. Because I feel like if I get his name, I'm gonna figure some things out. Because I needed to know who was his head coach. Like Johnny Manziel, I don't know who his head coach was. I could have looked it up, of course. But I was really wanting to know who this black guy was. And see, a lot of people thought the biggest concern was going to be that people say the games are scripted because of betting. The games are scripted because of racism. The bettors just benefit from the racism. And I don't think they care if you know about the betting because they know you ain't going to do nothing. But they don't want you to really kind of know overall about the anti-blackness. That's why they hired, what's the guy's name? Eric Bieniemy as an offensive coordinator because they had none. I'm looking to see if I still have that video with, I think that was Baker Mayfield. Yeah, that's it. So I don't see it. I have to get another time. I mean, I've played it before. I don't know who that guy was that was in the video. But I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this video right here because it's never going to go out of style. This is just a reminder.
It's a very good question. If he gets in, he's going to have to get in as a senior. So right. I really don't know. It's a very good question. If he gets in, he's going to have to get in as a senior. Right. I really don't know the answer to that yet. I really hope that he does get in, and it would be tremendous if he did. But it's really hard because once you get into that senior pool, it's very, very difficult to make it in.
Mary Kay, we saw DeJuan Jones get carted off the field yesterday. It turns out it was just heat exhaustion. Are we looking at anything that should keep him out over the next couple of days, or is that officially something we can put in the past and expect DeJuan Jones back fully healthy?
Yeah, I think you can expect him back. It really, really is a situation where the heat impacted him, and he should be absolutely fine. They've got the day off today. I mean, they are doing some work. They're probably getting treatment and things like that. But just in terms of him, he should be fine by the time we get back out there tomorrow.
All right, let's talk about DeJuan Jones for a minute. DeJuan Jones was, I believe, a left tackle for the Browns. Okay. And she said that this was the summer, right? This was about June. She said he was out. There was heat exhaustion. Did he even play this season? Or was he on injured reserve the entire season and Cam Robinson played? Because that's interesting, right? That you have a player who didn't play all season and you bring him back next season. And don't forget the guy that had the number 2 jersey, he was on injured reserve, I swear, most of the season. It's like he was just there to park the number 2 jersey. Yep. I think this is the video where she's talking about Shedeur and Dillon.
It wouldn't be an interview with a Browns beat reporter without asking about the quarterback situation, Mary Kay. And I know yesterday Shedeur and Dillon got their first chances to go up against the first-team defense. Flacco with the ones went against the second-team defense. Was that more of Kevin Stefanski just shuffling things up in a way that he anticipated doing all week, or was that a result of Dillon and Shedeur looking good in practice and earning some of those reps against the first-team defense?
Well, first of all, Dillon has already had opportunities with and against the first-team offense. So it wasn't his first opportunity to do that. The new thing that happened yesterday was that Shedeur got a chance to go against the first-team defense a little bit, and he did so working with the second-team offense. So it was, just a little nugget about Shedeur yesterday, and I think it's a good sign. I think he got rewarded for working really, really hard and doing a really nice job on everything. And he was able to go out there and go 2 for 3 in that session. He finished it off with 2 completions against some of the best defenders in the NFL. So I just thought that was a really good sign for him.
How are, based on what you've heard, Mary Kay, how is he doing behind the scenes, picking up the offense, and just being a teammate and all those type of things? How's he doing there?
Who's coming in the driveway?
Oh, I might have finished it. Okay, so that was it. All right, so that was the one where she was talking about, I don't know if y'all know, but Mary Cabot got herself in trouble. That's why her videos suddenly became, you had to be a member to read them, because that question he asked her, at one point she was asked that question, and she was saying, like, she was trying to position that Shedeur wasn't cerebral. And I think she actually used that term. And after that, that's when they kind of took her away from things. And you saw the Daniel Oyefuse guy come back. and then they left for the summer. And then when they came back, she was there. So these people try to let you know what side they swing with. They trying to let you know, right? And Mary Cabot she knew that the Browns were planning to draft Shedeur. In fact, if you listen to the question she asked on day 3 of the draft, well, since y'all spent so much, or since you spent extensive time with Shedeur, since you spent so much time with Shedeur, how is he? So she knew. So if they spent so much time with Shedeur, was it recorded? Were there text messages? Was it video? Were there trips? She knew that they were planning to draft him. And she reported from Colorado's pro day, they have a tough decision to get Travis or Shedeur. And what did people say? Stefanski wasn't even looking at Shedeur. He was only looking at Travis. So he was letting you know. Just like all season, Stefanski let people know Shedeur wasn't wanted or valued and can only is injured. So is that why he got rewarded? Or was it Baker, Deshaun, and Shedeur? He can manipulate the offense. He can manipulate the outcome. He can manipulate the players. He can manipulate if they move forward in the playoffs or be eliminated. I think that's why he got $15 million for rigging and fixing shit, which is illegal. All right. So, T. Rose said, DC Young Fly video explains it all, despite him being funny. Yes, it does. And again, I said, I think I reposted it on my IG. And I said, you know what? I'm going to have to edit this like real good. And I just posted it on my IG. So, no, DC Young Fly, I think Isaac Hayes III, all on point. Isaac Hayes III was the first person I heard call for a boycott. Don't go to the games. This is racism. It's intentional. He was one of the first people to actually have a big platform to actually do that. And DC Young Fly put out his video probably before that, I think. And he was the first person, period, to have a platform to show disgust and to be honest. And he even referred to Kevin Stefanski as being racist, right? He even referred to him as, I'm going to come down here and I ain't going to do nothing either for black people, blah, 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 right? He even lets you know, the Falcons don't mess with the city. That's why I think they want to move and get their own stadium and get a star, because every team wants this. And how can I move out of Atlanta when the black fans are so entrenched? So we're going to push them away. Yep. That's what I think this is. We'll see. There was a reason they took Stefanski and rewarded him. There was a reason the Browns took Deshaun and rewarded him. For what exactly? Because they know the truth. They know the truth. When people, don't you have to kind of like pay them off? When Stefanski was getting closer to the end of the season, he kept talking in his interviews about a script. I was like, a script? He kept talking about a script. But understand this. If you know what a bodies are buried, and they know you know what a bodies are buried, and they pay you to be quiet, how are you any different from the 4 robbers that were paid to commit the robbery? Because you committed a robbery too. And who did I say turned them in? The people that hired them. Who hired Stefanski? The people that turned them in. He is no different than the robbers who have been named as the suspects from Atlanta. And where is he? Who being played? Not a coincidence Callahan is over there as an offensive lineman. That man is a head coach, even though I don't like him. Let's just be honest. That's beneath his pay grade. He over there for safekeeping, for if and or when things go down. And they already showed you they're capable of flipping a switch. Remember with Shedeur? Game started off raggedy. flip the switch in front of Coach Prime, all gravy. They already let you know. They can lie and play in your face. Look at how Haslam was with Coach Prime. You would think he liked him, didn't you? And then allow Stefanski to abuse Coach Prime's son every game after that. And they upped the ante when Coach Prime came. As if, I'm going to show you. You think you being here is doing something. And then they just kept on. And they even used an injury. I'm assuming they didn't think anybody would see, but the cameras caught it with the nail. Don't forget about the wristband gate. See how they do? When people show you who they are and what they're capable of, you can't ever trust them again. You know what time it is. They smiling in your face and they eat in the back. Especially if you black. Whoo! Especially if you black. That's why I say Jordan C. Now I don't know. I think you might be. I don't know. I don't know. It said Batman level Detective Rick Nola. Keep it up. Thank you, what G30. I appreciate it. Putting it together. Gatekeepers in the ATL. Facts. Absolute facts. Like people telling Coach Prime. People telling Coach Prime. We protected your house. And that's how people feel. And people feel like they standing up for Shedeur. I don't even know if they got to the racist part yet. When Isaac Hayes came out, that was the part right there that said the racism part. And DC Young Fly. When I'm gonna tell you, do you know how many comedians have emulated DC Young Fly, copied exactly what he did, and went on to do the same type of post? Yeah. That's how we work. Yep. It takes somebody to take the lead. That's just like Baker. Baker took the lead on his side. And then the fans came out and started posting stats to support Baker was the guy. And before they did that, I said, it seems to me, just based on the timing of it all and everything that has transpired, that Stefanski was skating on Baker's talent. And then Baker didn't like what was happening. So look at, they pushed him out like trash. That's some gratitude, huh? And they got fans to trash Baker and say they want to get Deshaun, then they start trashing Deshaun. That's why it's trade Shedeur. Facts. I think Shedeur need to get the hell out of there. Go somewhere else. All right, so I'm going to get myself out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. I have a video I'm working on. I'm going to probably drop it in a little bit. If not, it'll pop up tomorrow. The title is, are you playing or are you getting played? Look for it. Make sure if y'all see it, y'all engage in the comments and hit the like button and subscribe and hype me up, hype me up, hype me up, hype me up. And don't forget, Atlanta got a lot of pride. And they got a lot of pride right now. So they're going to keep moving forward with their stupidity. But the fans ain't having it. So stay tuned. I'll probably check in on the Falcons tomorrow, not the team. But and see what the sentiment is. If the fans still going 110% FAFO. Or if at some point, how are they responding to the media trying to force and grease their esophagus and push the Stefanski down it. So I'm going to check in with the Falcons and check the post, the fan base. I'm checking in with the fan base. I don't give a damn about the Falcons. I'm checking in with the fan base to see how they feel. What's going on? All right. So I'm going to see y'all later. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. I hope you enjoyed this show. Real talk here is happening here. And we'll be back tomorrow. Have a good night.